Well, good evening there. Welcome back to Command the Courtroom after summer break. And for the first guest after summer break, I'm really excited. I say that every week, but I'm super excited to welcome Dr. Angel Storm. She said it's okay if I call her Angel. So Angel holds a Ph.D. in conflict analysis and resolution with a concentration in international peace, an MA in international security, and a BS in human development. She was in the U.S. Army and served for 6 years, and she continued work for the Defense Department for another 7 years as a civilian. Angel's also a certified life coach, and in 2018, she began focusing her coaching on narcissistic abuse recovery. She loves helping people get their lives back on track and grow in their purpose despite having all the cards stacked against them. Welcome, Angel. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, well, it's really nice to meet you. And I want to share with the viewers that Angel reached out to me a couple months ago. And I'm so excited that she found me because I think that, well, first of all, check out her YouTube channel if you haven't already. She's sharing a lot of great information with people like you who are watching. And I think that her information is very complimentary to Command the Courtroom. And so Angel has tons to share. And today we're going to talk about boundaries. Is that okay?
Yes, that's one of my favorite topics. It's so necessary in life in general, but especially when you're dealing with a narcissist.
Totally. So we were just talking off camera about how so many people have issues with boundaries, even with, when they're dealing with a non-narcissist. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, how do boundaries become even more difficult?
Yeah, well, narcissists are notorious for finding the boundary and then plowing on through it. So this is what they love to do no matter what the situation is that you're in with them, right? So even as I'm sure that you've experienced, even in courtroom settings, it doesn't really matter if there's an order put out that they have to do something. It's still up to the narcissist. The narcissist doesn't view anything as absolute. So especially for people who are conflict averse, they would rather do anything rather than have to confront somebody. Boundaries are even more necessary for those people because before they know it, if boundaries around my life are like a fence, it's not just like the narcissist is going to open up the gate and just kind of take one foot and put one foot on the inside, right? Before you know it, the narcissist is in the middle of your life, controlling everything. All of your thoughts are about the narcissist. All of your emotions are revolving around the narcissist. And so boundaries when dealing with a narcissist is super important because ultimately what boundaries are is they don't tell other people how to behave. They tell you how to behave. Mm-hmm. They are commitments you're making to yourself. This is how I'm gonna run my life. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to respond and not react to a situation. And when you do that, you take away the power that the narcissist has over you by being able to control your emotional and mental energy, let alone your physical energy, right? Like, be here at this time, or, I'll pick up the kids at whatever time. And so when the narcissist is constantly inserting themselves in your life, it can really, before you know it, your life is, all the way on the other side of where you thought it would be. And so this is something that, again, is a commitment to yourself, and it helps you establish the life that you want to live, not the narcissist telling you how you're going to live your life and you kind of trying to form your life around them and what they demand.
Okay, excellent. So I love how you talk about boundaries are, for me, for example, they're for me to protect myself. That's a shift in perspective that I've never heard before. So I love that. How does a person define, first of all, how do they figure out, hey, I need some boundaries? That's number one. And then two, how do they go about setting those boundaries for themselves? And this is a 3-part question, and I don't know that I'm going to remember it. Do they proclaim these boundaries to the narcissist, or do they just kind of hold those for themselves, or does it depend?
Yeah, great questions. And every situation is different. So there's general guidelines, but how those fit into each individual person, that's going to look different, right? Because there's times and seasons in our life. And maybe for a season, you have to have these types of boundaries. But once things calm down or once things shift, you can have different types of boundaries. So every situation is different. And yeah, boundaries are always for yourself first. One of the most common comments I get on my YouTube channel, I talk a lot about boundaries because they are so necessary. And if you don't get them, your life with a narcissist is just going to be absolute terrible, like a nightmare every day. Don't live a nightmare every day. Even if you have to co-parent with a narcissist, even if you have to go to court with a narcissist in an extended battle, it doesn't matter. Don't live a nightmare every day. Your outside circumstances should have little effect on what's going on in your internal world. So boundaries are for yourself first. And again, one of the funniest comments that I keep getting on my YouTube channel is, yeah, I set boundaries and the narcissist didn't listen to them. And again, this is not how boundaries work. I always tell people, well, if nothing happened by your boundary, you had a suggestion. You didn't have a boundary, because a boundary would actually keep people out. Mm-hmm. So if you could imagine the walls of a house, those aren't suggestions. They're literally supporting the rest of the house. They're solid. They're firm. They're not moving. They're not one day here and then one day over here. They're built and they're firm and they're there 24/7 in rainstorms, in sunny days. It doesn't matter. The walls of your life should be fixed like those boundaries. So again, these are things that you decide. When you're setting boundaries, again, it depends on the circumstance. So for example, you can't say, I'm going to go no contact with the narcissist if you must be in contact with them. So they have to be realistic. They need to be things also that you will feel comfortable enforcing. And what I mean by comfortable, I don't mean like, oh, that feels really good. What I mean is this is actually something that you can do. This isn't something that, oh, I'm going to go no contact, but I have to be, doing co-parenting with a narcissist, for example, or I work with a narcissist, or whatever the case may be. So they need to be something that you can actually enforce. When you think about a boundary, think about what is a realistic enforcement of that boundary for you if this boundary is crossed. So I'm going to just give you a quick example. One of them being, let's say the narcissist is prying into what are you doing this weekend with the kids, or where are you going, or I want you to call me every 2 hours and give me an update, or whatever the situation may be. It doesn't have to be a co-parenting situation. It could be any kind of thing. Think about that. And is that an okay boundary with you? Maybe something instead would be, I'm available. I will make sure that the children are available for FaceTime between 3 and 3:30 every day that we're on vacation. Please call them during that time. Otherwise, call the next day. And that's the boundary. If the narcissist calls and it's not 3 to 3:30, you just don't answer the phone, right? But a lot of people have a hard time because they're trauma bonded. There's a bunch of other issues going on. They haven't actually even learned how to do boundaries with themselves on basic everyday living, right? I'm going to get up and go to the gym at 9. I'm going to make sure that I eat healthy food this week. I'm going to speak to my children in a different way, whatever. These commitments have not been honored in their life. They haven't honored commitments to themselves. And so it's going to feel uncomfortable for a while you are growing and learning how to establish your boundaries. The other thing too is that one of the easiest boundaries to start setting with yourself is to just not limit the amount of time that you're going to communicate with a narcissist. So if my clients are communicating with a narcissist, whether it's through a third-party app like Talking Parents or email or whatever it is, I tell them, set aside a time that you're going to check, and that's it. Then you turn on there's notifications. You can change different notifications in your email settings. Turn those things off until it's during that time that you've already set aside in your schedule. So part of this is learning healthy emotional and mental boundaries by disconnecting that trauma bond that you have with a narcissist, living in this constant state of codependent chaos. And small steps like this can start helping you create this space so where you can set up bigger boundaries, more extensive ones, to where the narcissist can be doing their thing over here, but you're living your life over here, and what they do has no impact on you.
Oh, I love that. It's, really great examples. And just can you explain and can you remind the viewers what trauma bonding is and how it impacts them when they're trying to separate from a narcissist?
Yes, exactly. A lot of times when people are trying to separate from a narcissist, they feel bad because they're wondering, first of all, there's lots of narcissistic abuse going on. So gaslighting is going to be involved, right? Name calling, your self-worth is essentially diminished, right? And so the feeling of being confident enough to leave is always there. But trauma bond is actually the part of it's connecting your spirit, soul, and body all in one to this person. In other words, your brain is actually releasing chemicals every time you go through these emotions, whether it's the love bombing phase with the narcissist, the discard phase, it doesn't matter what phase, there's actual chemicals associated in your body with each of those feelings. And so you're actually getting addicted to the toxic relationship and the extreme highs, the extreme lows, this uncertainty. It's similar to highs that gamblers receive. So this is a real physical connection that's created in your brain, which reinforces bad behavior, right? You get a high because of these extreme circumstances in the relationship, and so it gets harder and harder to break that cycle. I always tell my clients, be gentle with yourself during this time. Understand what's going on, but be gentle with yourself, because a lot of times people will say, I wish I could just stop doing that. But we wouldn't talk like that if we had an actual, what we consider an addict, right? If we had a heroin addict, I wouldn't just tell that person, hey, stop doing heroin. That's not good for you. It's in the same way, it's not helpful for you to tell yourself, oh, just stop doing that. Start making a plan. Hey, I know that this is what I'm going through. I'm going through withdrawals from my very own chemistry. My own brain is emitting these things. I'm going to train it to, good thing, your brain is extremely plastic. It can learn at any given time. So I'm going to train myself to be attracted and to feel completed in activities and around people that are helpful for me, not harmful for me. And so you can absolutely learn how to redo that. I literally did this my own self. I've helped hundreds of people redo this. It's absolutely possible that you teach yourself to love yourself so deeply that anything that doesn't line up with that love that you have for yourself, you recognize it immediately, whether it's toxic or not. You understand people can be good people, but they're just not your people. So it's, it continues to serve you when you invest in yourself by undoing this trauma bond. But it is important that you recognize what's going on so that you can start to do the unhooking from this system that you've created.
So is then one of the first steps to unhooking from the system, is that creating boundaries?
Absolutely. And even with yourself. So for example, toxic rumination is one of the most common things that happens, right? I wish I could have done this, or he said this. And now, you start replaying over and over and over these toxic thoughts or events, whatever may have happened, the memories. You start having fake conversations in your head. Oh, I wish I would have said this, or I could have said this, right? So you start doing this over and over. This is called toxic rumination. One of the easiest boundaries and one of the very first boundaries that you need to make with yourself is understand that's toxic rumination, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And I'm actually causing brain damage when I do that. So I'm going to stop doing that. And so again, boundaries have nothing to do with other people, very little, right? Boundaries just tell me, hey, if that person doesn't respect my boundaries, I have some tools already in my toolkit. I have ways of handling that, and I've already made a commitment to myself that is how I'm going to respond in that situation. But that's my commitment to myself, regardless of what that person says or does. If they respect my boundaries or if they don't, that's not on me. That's somebody else's behavior. I'm not trying to control somebody else's behavior. I'm controlling myself. So I can't control myself if I can't control my thoughts. Controlling your thoughts is one of the most critical parts of this, because if you can control your thoughts and emotions, again, it will start to unhook you from this trauma bond, and you'll be able to see the narcissist for what they are very clearly.
So, this is, and I agree 100%. Like, I don't have the depth of knowledge about neuroplasticity, but I've read a little bit about it. I've read some Joe Dispenza, I have a basic knowledge of that, but I find from my own life that retraining the brain, there are different things that I constantly think. I play this loop, this record, you're this, you're that, you're not this, you're not that. And I find that it's so difficult to stop in that moment. Like when you're having the thought, do you have any, I know there's no easy fix it, but any thoughts or ideas on how to stop when you're having that moment thinking, whatever, I'm not enough. I'm not this, I'm not pretty enough. I was not good enough, whatever.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So this actually speaks to a further thing that is happening, which is that I'm not present in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not practicing mindfulness. When I'm present in the moment, I'm not anxious about the past. I'm not worried about the future. I'm here and I'm present with you, for example, right now. So practicing this slowdown. I'll tell you just really quickly what I started to do, which was 7 times a day, I scheduled little reminders for myself. Like literally it would say, take 30 seconds right now and look around you. So, you practice the 5 senses. What do you hear? What do you see? What do you smell? What can you taste? What can you touch? And so you practice the 5 senses, 30 seconds, 7 times a day. That starts to remind you and draw you kind of closer back to this baseline. I have a video on my YouTube channel where I talk about how do you establish your baseline, because you need to know where you are now if you want to know where you want to be, right? I can't be like, I don't know where I am right now, but I'd like to end up in Tokyo. Right. Okay, I'm going to need to know where I am now so I can get there. So you need to be able to assess, okay, I sit most of the day in anxious thoughts. I sit most of the day either in the past or in the future. How do I start getting into mindfulness? So I did these 7 little reminders. Like I said, I just set an alarm, asked myself to, be aware of what I'm doing. And then as that progressed, I started to take note of what I was thinking about. So whatever those toxic thoughts were that I was having the most of, I wrote opposite of that. So for example, I would sometimes tell myself, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't do this. This is too much for me. This is, exhausting. I can't live this way, and so instead of that, I wrote, I'm fully equipped to handle my life now and in the future. I can face whatever situations come my way. This life was made for me. I'm not a victim of my circumstances. So things like that, when I recognized what my toxic thoughts were, I started to replace them with healthy thoughts. This is after I was, starting to get into more mindful behavior throughout the day. So you can do things like this to help you progress.
Okay, awesome. That's a fantastic suggestion. So I'm going to start setting little alarms for myself and just be aware of what's happening in the moment that the alarm goes off. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And sometimes, right, exactly. Because you'll see that throughout the day, you're doing different things. Maybe you're preparing meals. Maybe you're really in the middle of like an intense, something that's going on very intense during the day, or you just got off of the phone with a narcissist, or in your case, you had a stressful situation at work. And you'll notice how you're feeling. If lots of people just know, they don't know what they're feeling. They just know this is uncomfortable and I need to get out of this situation, right? And it's like on to the next thing. Busyness is a response to trauma. And it can be, not all the time, obviously, but it can be a response to trauma. So being able to recognize like, my heart rate is up right now. And this type of situation is making me think that I have anxiety over it. Anxiety and excitement feel very similar. They actually light up the same part of the brain. So they not only feel similar, they they look very similar under MRI imaging. So when I tell myself instead, I'm very excited because this outcome of what I'm about to do is going to change, the trajectory of this goal or whatever. I'm one step closer to my goal. So when I start telling myself that in response to how I'm feeling, because I'm connecting with my emotions in the moment, I'm not just trying to run away from them. I acknowledge them, and I give them the ability to do what they are here to do for me. Emotions are meant to, the reason we have them was for survival and evolution. And so how can your emotions help you evolve? What are you running from instead of allowing it to help you grow?
Okay, excellent. So the emotions, oftentimes what I see are people allowing their emotions just kind of take them. They just go off course, and people follow the emotion, and they just kind of get off course. How, do you get back to mindfulness? Is that how you get the emotions in check? I mean, how can somebody get so thrown off, get emotional, get upset, get anxious? How can they get back in alignment? That's a long, bad question, but
no, it's a great question. Yeah. So I think I think like taking an assessment of where we are now. So if you can actually take a look and see like, okay, I probably overreacted in that situation. I probably shouldn't have said that. I probably shouldn't have done that. I'm not talking about a toxic rumination cycle. I'm talking about taking an actual assessment of what took place, right? An actual like, okay, how can I grow from this? I'm not just going over that situation so I can beat myself up and not ever learn from it or grow, and I just carry more baggage on me. But when I take an actual assessment of that, then the truth is emotions are excellent slaves, but they are terrible masters. And if you are going to let them run your life, it's going to be extremely difficult for you. And especially when the narcissist in most cases has control over your emotions. The narcissist knows that one more filing of a motion, one more ignoring of a court order, one more running over your boundary is going to send you into this insane tailspin where it can actually derail your case or your good standing in the court. Or it can actually just even if you're not in a court situation, it can just make you feel worse about yourself because of the way that you responded in that moment. And so understanding, hey, my emotions don't run the show. They can be lying to me. They can lead me down a road that's very dangerous for me, that's hard for me to recover from. Instead of, I acknowledge that these things are screaming at me this, right? But I also know that there's another side to it. I need to have, so there's a bunch of different things that you can do. Number one, have a voice of reason around you, somebody that you truly trust, or a support system, some type of group around you. Hey, this happened. What do you think about this? This is how I was feeling. Did anybody handle this situation before? How do you recommend I handle it? Whatever. So get an outside voice. You don't know it all. And that's on design. That's by design. We all need each other. So you don't know it all. It's okay to ask for help. You should, in fact, especially at this stage that I'm talking about, you need outside voices. You also need to understand that what, I'm sure that you've seen this in court many times, Wendy, like what looks like the narcissist is winning is actually like, that's going to come back on them. So if you think like, this hearing didn't go the way that I thought it would, or something didn't happen, you have too short of a vision for it. And so sometimes your perspective needs to be adjusted. And that would actually probably alleviate a lot of the emotional chaos that you're feeling anyway. You also need to understand, okay, I'm trauma bonded. Could these emotions be coming from that? Just taking an assessment of where you are in this situation is really going to help you understand what you need to do in that moment. And until you're completely healed, until you've gone through a good amount of the healing process, You shouldn't be listening to your first instinct of emotions. Okay, I want to run away, or I want to shut down, or I want to do this. You shouldn't be doing that, because they are used to being the master and taking you down a terrible path. You need to get them back in line. They're the servants, and you tell them where to go.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And I love this thought about, you know, feeling like you're losing because maybe the narcissist want emotion or want a hearing, but really understanding that there's a bigger vision, you know, there's a longer road ahead. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that.
Perspective. It really is about perspective. We're often looking like this at like 2 inches in front of our face, when we need to be like standing on a mountain overlooking the entire valley down below, you know, because that's honestly what's happening. We often get, and then you get, again, taken down that road, right? All right, I'm losing this one. Now I'm feeling terrible and I'm feeling upset. Why am I even doing this? And I'm doing the toxic rumination. I start doing all of these really negative behaviors all at one time. You need to stop doing those things. You know, be aware that you're doing them and start trying something else, even if it feels uncomfortable. So even if it feels uncomfortable to have another perspective, just give it a shot and see what that's like. Be open to maybe your way isn't the only way.
That's great advice. That's really great advice, Angel. So what I'm hearing is maybe one of the rules a person can set for themselves is, like, before reacting, just stop for a minute.
Yeah, and actually, when specifically it comes to dealing with a narcissist, because a lot of my clients have been so used to being on this roller coaster with a narcissist, I'll say, especially if they've decided to go no contact or something like that, I'll tell them, if you want to contact the narcissist, that's your choice. You're a powerful person. You get to make your own decision. But I would like you to make a commitment to yourself to wait 24 hours and see what your decision is in 24 hours. Because again, when we are in this state, we are used to doing just our reaction. We're not actually responding. We don't actually take in all of the information and make an educated decision. What we're doing is we're just knee-jerk reaction to things, and then we later on regret it. So putting a time limit, okay, maybe you don't have 24 hours, maybe you have to respond to the narcissist sooner than that. Okay, fine. But maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 2 hours, maybe you put an activity. You know what, first I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to, do a cycling class or whatever. I'm going to do something, and then I'll address this situation, so that you're not getting pigeonholed down this road that where, again, your emotions are taking you. You kind of give yourself some space, and then you decide how you want to respond.
Oh, great advice. That's really great advice. So, you started to talk about this earlier, and I want to loop back around because it comes up a lot in my practice, and I feel like we should talk more about it around boundaries. Mm-hmm. And that is when the narcissist, as I frequently see, is bombarding my client with communications, written communications, voicemails, text messages, like they won't let the client get any rest. And then this throws the client into a tailspin. So you started to talk about, responding. How, what are your thoughts when a person is getting it from all over the place? Text, voicemail, email, any suggestions? Because I see it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two kind of roads to go down here, right? One is like as I'm sure you can have that put into the agreement where, like, hey, the communication is going to take place from 9 to 5. You can't do harassing type of messages. So that's one technique. But I actually think it's better if you just let the narcissist talk, which I understand can be overwhelming for people when it starts coming in all of the time. Again, this is why you need to make a commitment to yourself. Maybe that means you set up a different email address, which isn't connected to your phone, so you can't be getting all the notifications. You're not constantly checking it, right? And it's only on your computer. One of my clients did this, and literally within a week, she had been losing hair because she was so stressed out. And so within a week, she was feeling better. It's like you need to make some distance between you and the narcissist. That's your responsibility, because the narcissist obviously isn't going to change. They're going to keep doing it more because they're getting energy from the way that you're responding. So do whatever it is that makes sense for you. If you can just say to yourself, I'm only going to check my voicemail, email, text messages, whatever it is, from this time to this time of day, and you communicate that with the narcissist, hey, I need to get back to work, or I need to be focused on the children, whatever it is, I will be checking my messages from this time to this time every day, just so you can expect a response within that time window as well. Okay, great. That's your boundary. That's what you communicate. But this is about retraining yourself, because the narcissist isn't going to change. And honestly, if you set up these boundaries and then you stick to them, the narcissist just goes crazy about it because they don't have this access to you that they used to have. They're exposing themselves for who they truly are. I try to just if it's possible, let the narcissist talk, because this is going to eventually come back and be beneficial for you, especially when it's written, when there's voicemails. All of this stuff is undeniable proof of who they are, of how they think, of what they say, of the way that they treat the other person, whether it's a co-parent or whatever, in that situation. So you want that evidence, because there has to be evidence to show that, hey, this is not your run-of-the-mill divorce, or this is not your run-of-the-mill custody case. This is an extreme situation, and here's the evidence to prove that.
So thank you for that. So I've seen cases where a client, survivor, really starts to retrain themselves and disengage from the narcissist, and the narcissist picks up on it, right? And then so the narcissist kind of spins out of control, spirals out of control, and all of a sudden is sending emails. Like, I, as an attorney, am shocked that the narcissist is sending him. Like, are you kidding me? We still have a case happening. So is that a sign, Angel, that the narcissist really is out of control?
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. And I'm telling you, the quickest way to get through your case is to retrain yourself. Stop fighting every single thing that comes up. But he's doing this or she's doing that. No one cares. Let them do that. What are you doing about yourself to retrain yourself? Because that's the only thing you can control. A lot of times you're at the mercy of the court when they have an available time, how quickly they can read your motion, when the next hearing is going to be. Okay, are you going to just wait around for the next 2 months, the next 3 months for your next hearing and the next hearing? Get your life together. This is your life. You have complete control over your life, even if you're in a court system. So that's absolutely a sign that the narcissist is not happy, and they can sense that you're disconnected. Your energy is no longer available to them to be feasting on. I call them energy vampires. They're not able to get to you, to have you as their supply anymore. And of course, they're going to up their tactics, because they ultimately always viewed you just as their supply. They don't view you as a sovereign person with your own goals and your own identity and your own future. You're just a supply to them. And it's just like, be the supply that you've always been. And that's what you need to be. So the narcissist is never going to accept that. Another situation, another time when you'll see this happen is when the judge rules against a narcissist in some way, shape, or form, and they think like this is an absolute outrage. And you can really see them expose their true colors in these situations. It's like they do all of the work for you. But if you don't have that perspective, if you're always trying to shut them down and make them stop talking, or not, don't contact me anymore, sometimes doing that can actually hurt your case, because you want all of this evidence to show that this is truly who they are. This is how they always behave, that they are not going to stop. And if you want a different ruling, you're really going to have to present that evidence.
So I would like to stress this again, that what I'm hearing is, for the victim/survivors, they can only control themselves. And sometimes when they try to control the narcissist, or a lot of times, it is counterproductive, not only to their own mental and emotional and physical well-being, but it can be counterproductive to the case. Would you agree with that?
I would, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying, because when you give them the space, I have a video coming out in a few weeks on my channel where I talk about how to use silence to your advantage. When you are silent, by this I mean you're not reacting, right? The narcissist trying to get a hold of you, but you've made this boundary. You're not going to answer the phone unless it's between this and this time. You're sticking to that. when you start to do things like that, you're using the silence as a buffer between you and the narcissist. And the narcissist is not going to like that, but it's actually to your benefit. Like, they will expose all kinds of stuff that you can later on use to your advantage, just simply because you were quiet.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, so what I see a lot of times is when somebody is pushing against the narcissist, they look almost equally as bad. That's what I have found happens in court. And the judge is like, both of you are to blame. Both of you are bad. Both of you were arguing. Both of you were in conflict. That's what I see.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. One of the things that I try to teach my clients is your behavior needs to be so opposite of the narcissist that it's because they try to muddy the waters. They try to make it appear like, hey, we're both equally to blame, when really, like, they're doing crazy making, right? And the victim of the abuse is sick of this and they want out of this life. They've just had it, but their reaction to it while they're in the spotlight, underneath the spotlight of the court, is that you're also crazy. Why am I going to rule with you? Now I need third parties to come in and do evaluations and all this type of stuff. And so you want your behavior to be as opposite of the narcissist as possible. The narcissist is harassing you. You've made a boundary. You stick to the boundary. You respond to things that need to be responded to. Lots of times a narcissist is sending stuff that you don't need to answer to. Again, use that silence. Silence is very powerful against a narcissist because they can't tell, what are you doing? Why aren't you responding to me? Why aren't you getting anxious about this? Why aren't you, calling me names back, or, doing the same thing I'm doing to me, right? Because that's how they know that they have you as a supply.
Okay, so that spurs. I'm gonna try to ask one more question. Like, this is so great. This is good stuff. I love talking about this. And
yes,
and Victor said this is one of the best broadcasts. I just want to share that with you.
Oh, Angel. That's so sweet. I'm so glad. I hope it is helpful.
So, one thing that has come up for me in some of my client cases is when I don't want to respond as an attorney, or I want to be quiet, for a few days or a weekend or a week. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes my clients think, like, you're being weak. Why aren't you defending me? Mm-hmm. And, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have any different perspectives on that?
I do. I encourage my clients, when they're looking for an attorney, to talk about the overall strategy, right? Like, so if you're my attorney, I would communicate with you, hey, these are my goals, the goals that I want of my case. When I go to court, this is what I want to leave court ultimately with, right? Then I want to talk about the strategy, because if I understand that you understand what I ultimately want, then it would be easy for me to give up control. People who are used, and especially in this situation where we're talking about being in an abusive situation for a long period of time, sometimes we need to make sure that we understand trust, right? I'm releasing the last of this in I have a mentorship program where I teach you about how to make boundaries. This is on my YouTube channel. Anybody can watch it.
Yay.
And and one of the things that I say is that you're going to have to trust people. The answer to this situation is not everybody sucks and I'm not going to talk to anybody. And so, especially with your attorney, you need to know that this person is truly in your corner, and that if they understand where you're coming from, they've given you a strategy for your case. And if they're like, hey, trust me on this situation, there's a reason, right, why people hire you. There's a reason why they come to you. It's like, you came to me. I want to do what you have asked me to do. This is the best strategy. I mean, the clients sometimes have to learn no answer is sometimes the best answer. Silence is sometimes the best answer, because when you show like, hey, I'm not moving from my position, a lot of times things get drawn out. This is my observation in court, simply because you're going back, you're playing the game. Stop playing that game. And then the narcissist is like, oh, you don't want to play that game? Well, then I guess there's nothing for me to get here. Let's go to mediation. Or, here's a settlement offer letter. That happens all of the time to my clients, when they're just like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm still going to go. This is what I was talking about earlier, where I was saying, hey, the narcissist is going to be trying to get you to come over here and play this game. It's over here. Doesn't it look fun? Stop worrying about what they're doing. Go live your life over here. You parent how you want to parent your kids.
Right.
Don't worry about what the narcissist is doing with the kids. You know, if it's in some ways, yes, like, right, like document everything. But why should your time with your children be consumed with what the narcissist is doing or isn't doing? Do your life. You do your life, and you don't answer to the narcissist. They're not like above you, which is oftentimes, I think, how the clients are feeling, right? Oh, well, they're not going to like if I do that, or this is how they're going to respond if I do that. Who cares? That's not your concern.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And, you know, it goes along with one of the things that I teach in some of the courses that I have, and that is that you should frame the case that you want for yourself. It's kind of like, you know,
Yes.
Stating your intention and not being so worried about, well, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? Obviously, you have to be ready and you have to defend against what they're going to throw at you, but that should not be the primary strategy. The primary strategy should be, you know, what is my intention for this case and how do I want to frame this case? And then you get your evidence and you put it out there and you're more concerned with that versus defending against every little thing that they're going to throw against the wall about you. That's my thought.
That's exactly right. So when I'm driving down the road, for example, I'm in my car, I'm driving down the road, I'm looking straight ahead at where I'm going. I can't be looking over here to see what this car is doing. Where are they looking? That car is driving too, and where are they looking? That car isn't my responsibility. I'm responsible for this car. So you have to have your own vision. Otherwise, you really will be just chasing around whatever the narcissist wants you to do. You're going to be spending all of your energy, resources, your time, your life just worrying about what the narcissist is doing. You make your own life and make the narcissist go play your game. Make the narcissist go into your life. Yes. You move forward with your car and don't worry about where that one's going.
Oh my gosh. Amen to all of this. Like somebody on there said, preach. I don't know if you saw that. This is so good. Preach, Angel, from the First Lady. Like I am saying it. Amen on that. So oh my gosh, I could just go on with you forever, Angel. And I hope that you will come back.
Yes, let's do it again. This is fun. These are good questions. And I like that you can really speak to what this is actual stuff you need to employ in your court strategy. This isn't, but beyond that, you know, usually when my clients come to me, most of them, about 80% are in court. But even if you're not in court, what about your life? You know, court isn't going to be your life. So what about even when you're out of court? Are you going to leave there like just a shell of a person, just in a skeleton? Don't let the narcissist take your life, your energy away from you. You know, you are going to the court process is unto something. It's unto the result that you're hoping to get. So be prepared for that life and don't get so wrapped up in what's going on right now. Yes, this is important, but if you do the steps and you're faithful with keeping track of everything and documenting everything, you know, you're committed to your boundaries that you make with yourself, then you're doing the right thing. Just keep doing that. Just keep living your life, and naturally the darkness will be exposed.
Okay, so and I promise I'm going to let you go pretty soon here, Angel, but I just felt like I had to share this because if Vaughn maybe needs to hear anything that you have to offer. So Vaughn's saying, I stopped documenting. I'm over it. Judges don't care about parents at each other's throat. 9 out of 10, 50-50 is their goal. I'm pro se, and the odds I'll be able to articulate this after 4 years is slim. So I feel like Vaughn is giving up or has given up or is close to giving up. Any thoughts for Vaughn?
Yeah. And first I would say it's about perspective, and so here's one thing that I make people do, or I ask them to do, my clients to do, is to tell me their why. Why are you hiring me? Why are you coming to have this conversation with me? What is it that what's your why? And I'm a coach. I'm not a crutch. This is what I tell my clients. But oftentimes I'll have clients email me, you know, usually in the middle of the night or whatever, frantic about this, right? This is going nowhere. And I'm upset because I feel like I'm always going to get 50-50 or whatever in my case. and I'll just send them back their why. Is it still worth it then? These, I can't speak to everybody's situation. I don't know exactly what's going on in that situation, but from my perspective, it's, have you tried every single thing? Have you tried a different perspective? I was talking about that earlier. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels like it's going to be useless, have you actually done another perspective? Have you hired some people who could come in potentially to come around you and give you support, maybe experts to speak into certain things, whatever the inner workings of your case are? It is about perspective. That sounds like a defeatist perspective. I think that there's a better way to frame it. Maybe there's a different documentation system that you need to adapt to. Maybe take one of Wendy's Command the Courtroom classes, do her master class so you can learn how to present that evidence, right? Collecting it is just one part of it. Now we have to present it. And so perhaps there's just something else that could be tweaked, even just something little. You'll be surprised how quickly that change in behavior, that change in your mindset can multiply throughout the rest of the case.
Agreed. 1,000%. And you just never know when things are going to change. Like you just don't know what bad email from the ex is going to shift the judge, or what horrible sounding voicemail. And I've had it happen more than once, so you just never know. And you can't give up, because you could be just one email away, or you could be just one voicemail away, or, who knows what could happen. So I would say, Vaughn, don't give up. And Count Dracula is saying, I felt that way too, but Count Dracula went from joint to having soul with 90/10 parenting. Congratulations, amazing. Count Dracula. And Victor is also saying, Vaughn, don't give up. I share your feelings, but it's more about knowing what you want, documenting, and focusing on the argument. Perseverance is key. Understand or agree. Yeah. So, gosh, and Vaughn is saying, okay, thank you. Heart. So sending lots of love to you, Vaughn. You're getting lots of love right now. And don't give up. Don't give up. Because even if you lose a couple battles, I've had many clients lose battles, like battle after battle after battle, and then end up with where they want to be, but it's years in. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right. Haven't given up. So, oh my gosh, Angel, this has been amazing. What a way to come back. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. It was so fun.
It's totally fun. And so please, can you share with people, how they can find you and what you have to offer them? I know you have the masterclass and you do the coaching. How can they learn more about you and work with you if it works out? Yeah.
You can check out my YouTube channel. I have hundreds of videos there. And I think in the link in this description is all of my social media. You can follow me there. And my website addresses are there as well. So, you can book a session with me. Otherwise, I've got lots of videos that are free. I've got lots of resources on my page that are free, on my website that are free. So, I want to just, help people as widely as possible.
Oh, thank you so much, Angel. You're a blessing.
Thank you.
And you guys, don't give up. You guys remember to keep on trucking. And study, do your homework, keep documenting, and keep believing above all. And until next time, I will see you. Get out there and command the courtroom. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.